Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. Welcome once more. Retro Spectrum, Ewan Spence here. Hello. Down to the webcam. I've been away for a week or so, yes, but that's fine. I'll be down in London doing music. But we got some more games coming up, and as promised, we're now going to go for a retro game, but it's actually brand new. Those of you who have been watching Netflix and so on will have heard of this lot, Tuckersoft. They're the mythical company that made the mythical game Bandersnatch in Black Mirror's Bandersnatch. Bandersnatch, of course, was actually based on a game that got released for the ZX, not the ZX Spectrum, but for the Spectrum QL back in '86. But tucked into the game, the show itself, with all its multiple choice options, was a title called Nohzdyve. This was a title that was written by the fictional developer Colin Ritter, and it was the game he did before the Bandersnatch game that he was making in Black Mirror. And in a delightful bit of marketing, they made this game. If you remember at the very end, there's a QR code at the end of the Bandersnatch credits. If you snap that QR code, it gives you an address. That address gives you access to an old Spectrum loading screen, and that Spectrum loading screen embedded into it has the code to get the game. So it sent you on this great big wild goose chase down the internet, and it eventually allowed you to find the title Nohzdyve. So they actually got somebody in and paid them in the 21st century to write an old-fashioned Spectrum game like it was like 1983, 1984. So we have the delights of Nohzdyve coming up on the Spectrum. So we've got the emulator set up to be the old 48K, the original machine that was used back in then. We'll go full screen as this all kicks off because we get all delightfully retro as we load up Nohzdyve. And look at that, just glory in the terrible mid to early 1980s color and titles and animation going on there. Controls, O and P, not lot. And yep, Tuckersoft, of course, not actually a real company. Oh, you got to scroll along the bottom here. Look out for more great games from Tuckersoft. Yeah, like Bandersnatch. Right. Okay, so Matt Westcott is the actual programmer. He didn't realize what he was programming for. He was given they mocked. We'll come back. We'll come back to the sort of in game and the out game story going on in a minute as well. But space to start. Okay, so we've got all the peakies, and those of you who have played your Spectrum games will realize this looks incredibly familiar. Now that thing there, the purple circle with the sort of eye stalk, that's an eyeball, and it's an eyeball you've got to try and. That's what scores you the game. You've not to hit the walls, you've not to hit the creatures, you've just to capture the eyeballs as you fall from the sky. It's incredibly simple, but as we've seen here on this channel, some of the really addictive games that have come up in the past were of that sort of nature on the Spectrum. So we didn't get a high score there. Let's try and see if we can get up. We can just get eaten by the teeth straight away. Almost as vicious as Manic Minus. There's 10 points. Missed. Missed. 20. Ah! There's one. And, this is not just straight left and right. You'll notice that it's sort of, you when you tap the key, actually, let's just bring the controller in. So you can see me pressing some buttons as it goes along because it's actually quite interesting how they're doing it. It's got a little bit of momentum. I have to change the joystick to do that. Hold on. Look at that. How professional is that? We've got to plug in the different joystick interface in the code. Right, let's try that now. So we'll see here. We get eaten by the teeth straight away. That's obviously a danger to the game, so let's get out of the way. So what tiny press moves you a lot and then a little. So it's not a linear left and right that you're fighting against here. This is just sort of gentle tap. The longer you hold it down, the faster you'll move over. So there's a nice little bit of trying to understand the momentum going into the game here as well. Yeah, you've got to kind of look ahead. Keep out the way of the creatures. You can't stay close to the wall because you've got the wall furniture coming through as well. So you're always constantly battling the left and right. And when you look at some of the casual games that you have on your mobile phones, your Infinite Runners, your Crossy Roads, this fits exactly in the mold. Now, if you'd taken this back to, and it says 1983. Now, remember, 1983 is right around the start of the Spectrum. Okay, so in the game world, in the fictional world, what you've got here on this title would be regarded as a pretty good game. It's got a lot of graphics going on. It's got sound playing through on the interrupt frames at the same time as the gameplay is happening, which is pretty rare for the first 3 or 4 years of the Spectrum, with a couple of notable exceptions like Manic Miner and Jet Set Willy. You've got multiple colours. You've got the delights of Colour Crash, although I do think part of that is they wanted to have the nostalgia of a great big game with Colour Clash. It's not a left-to-right platform scroller, which in the Spectrum would be flip screen anyway. So it's a pretty good, constantly scrolling, falling, endless arcade game. I'm sure you could sit there with a timer and just sort of go, well, how high am I up this block? But at the same time, this could be a racing game. There's the mechanics. The mechanics are really nice. It looks great. High score is now 140. Yes, and as a marketing tool, really nice. Now, when they actually put this into the TV show, and they made the sort of graphics that would be on the TVs and the monitors that they were all working on, they actually faked this graphic. They faked a few screens. So when you watch Bandersnatch and you see Nohzdyve on the monitors in the game, they're actually CGI. They've just been faked to do. But those screenshots were handed to Matt Westcott to do the actual development of this game. And they said, we need a Spectrum game. It needs to look like this. It's called Nohzdyve. It flies down. And he's like, it's the 21st century, and I get to program a Spectrum game. Yeah, and you've not to tell anybody. Yeah. They didn't tell them it was for Bandersnatch or for Black Mirror or any of that. And then they just snuck it out as an Easter egg. So there we are, Nohzdyve. It's available in the usual places, but it's also available at the Tuckersoft website that they have. Yeah, that's it. That there is Nohzdyve out of the team from Tuckersoft. And let's just finish off at the titles. Let's finish off at the title screen and go right past it, because you could do that when you were young. Nohzdyve. It's fun. It's incredibly reminiscent of what was out there in the time of the Spectrum. It looks great and colourful as well, and it is worth hunting out. It is a curiosity thing, but the Spectrum, you're still getting people developing for it, you're still getting people writing for it, and you're still getting people getting paid, admittedly in some hip corner of Shoreditch to do some Soho marketing, to write games for the Spectrum as well. So thanks all very much for watching. For those of you on YouTube, I'm going to say goodbye in a second. For those of you who are on Twitch, stay with me for a second, and we'll just do a little recap and a little bit more streaming at the end. Thanks for watching. I'm going away from the keyboard.